V-pop and Vietnamese culture as a whole is having its soft power moment. International tourism has skyrocketed and the country has become Asia's leading destination. Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi have become new fashion capitals. Songs like Si Tinh, Giang Ai Đi, and Cafe have become trending TikTok and Instagram sounds. And Vietnamese American artists like Thuy, Keshi, and Sailor have reached immense success. Of course, it hasn't always been this way. As Vietnam was recovering from the war during the 80s and 90s and enacted some censorship laws, it was up to the Vietnamese diaspora to establish their own pop culture and subcultures away from their homeland. For Vietnamese Americans, Orange County served as the home base for Viet New Wave in the 80s, and at least 30 record companies by 1995, 3 of which were major producers of live music shows. Today, I want to talk about the first Vietnamese American millennial pop princess to come out of this era, and her name is Trish Thuy Trang. I can't say her name that fast. Trish Thuy Trang, Trish Thuy Trang, Trish Thuy Trang. Okay, I can technically say it fast, but I have to be careful when I say it in a sentence. Anyways, Trish Trang, I'll shorten it, is a Vietnamese American singer-songwriter. She was born in Saigon, Vietnam on December 15th, 1980. She moved to the United States at only a few months old, first residing in Sugar Land, Texas, and then moving to Southern California. Her musical influences stemmed from listening to her late mother's record collection, including Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac, Madonna, Mariah Carey, and Sheryl Crow. There was a lot of 70s influences, 80s, 90s influences as well, even country music. Her parents found out that she had a passion for music, so they enrolled her into piano classes, as most Asian parents do. But then this also led to her natural affinity for singing. Trish would go out to karaoke with her friends, and they took notice of her vocal skills, and they're like, wow, girl, you're really good.
She's really good.
One of her friends, whose uncle was a graphic designer for Asia Entertainment, recommended that she send a demo to the company, and surprise, surprise, the executives really loved her voice and her work, so they decided to sign her into the label. For a lot of Vietnamese Americans growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, we grew up watching live show programs on DVD, and these were long programs, okay? These were long programs. They had musical numbers, dance numbers, medleys, skits, solo performances, interviews, everything in between. It was flashy, it was camp, it was considered cheesy and tacky by the younger Vietnamese American audience, people who were basically the same age as me, but I personally loved it. The 3 main companies that produced and released these live shows were Trung tâm Asia, Asia Entertainment, Trung tâm Thuy Nga, Paris by Night, and Van Son. These programs were founded by overseas Vietnamese in the post-war era, catering to older Vietnamese diaspora who had immigrated to the US or other English-speaking territories but still wanted a piece of home in their new home. It was mostly Vietnamese parents buying these DVDs while the American or the diaspora kids were watching them at home. One particular style of music that was often shown in these live shows is called nhạc vàng, or yellow music. This genre originated in the 1950s in southern Vietnam, characterized by a slow, melancholic instrumental with lyrics that evoke nostalgia for one's homeland, singing the struggles of poverty, love, heartbreak, war.
24 giờ tìm người thương trong người thương.
The emphasis is put on the lyrics and the delivery, while the bolero guitar instrumental in the background keeps the tempo and guides the singer to tell their story. Very similar to spoken word. Upon the establishment of the new communist Vietnamese government after the war, nhạc vàng was banned from being played and distributed, so many of the southern Vietnamese entertainers had to find work outside of the country, most of them joining the Vietnamese American community in Orange County. If you contrast nhạc vàng with American pop music, they have different sounds that cater to different audiences from different generations. So why would a company like Asia Entertainment want an American pop singer in their catalog. When Trish signed with Asia in 1997, she thought it was a joke.
I was like, you don't want me. I think I even missed the first interview. Yeah, and they were like, well, do you want a contract? And I didn't even know what they were talking about. I thought it was all a joke. And then I remember talking to my dad, and he said, they're probably going to make you, it's probably a scam. They're going to make you pay them too. So when I came back, I said, do I need to pay for anything? Because I'm not going to do it if I have to pay you guys. And I just remember the owner was laughing at me. She goes, no, we're going to pay you to sing. And I thought it was so bizarre. From there, they're like, okay, we want you to come in and record. I think it was a No Doubt song. It was Don't Speak. And, I heard that on the radio. So I was like, I know this song. I'm gonna record it. And I even brought my friends. I remember, just come with me. It's going to be really quick. I didn't take it seriously. And the sound engineer was like, you're awful. You don't know this song. And I think I said, what is the first lines of that song? Like, you and me, you and me. I say that was all I got past. I didn't sing anything past that. And they sent me home.
Trish did not take it seriously in the beginning, but Asia continued to have faith in her. They believed in her and they wanted her. The more that she was called into the studio, the more she fell in love with songwriting and recording.
There's just so much that I learned from the studio during the first album, and I got yelled at a lot, got sent home a lot, was told I couldn't sing a lot. Towards the end, when I was singing a lot, I would live in the studio. I just loved being there. I would write in there. I would play around with all the instruments, all the little toys that are in there, even like the different microphones, all the wirings. I would tinker with everything.
A year later, she released her debut album, Don't Know Why, the first all-English release from Asia Entertainment. Trish would also join Asia's live concerts and programs, performing her own songs and collaborating in medleys with her label mates. I personally love the Linh Khúc Viet New Wave medleys. It just scratches the EDM-obsessed part of my brain so well. Not even EDM obsessed. I just really like upbeat, techno dance music in general. Over the span of 12 years, she would release 5 more studio albums, leading the songwriting and production of most of her songs. Being one of the only English-speaking American artists in the company, Trish often felt like an alien or an outsider during these live show productions.
I never felt right. I still don't, because I don't really feel like I'm that Vietnamese, and I don't feel like I'm that American enough. So my Vietnamese was so bad. I just remember when I was there, I just felt like an alien. I never really listened to that much Vietnamese music, even when I was in it. So when people would introduce me to singers, I had no idea who most of them were. I mean, I had some bad experience from people or being on live shows where the Vietnamese audience did not accept me at all. This one time I was singing in, I think it was Canada. When I think the promoter, they know when the audience is more American or not westernized or more Vietnamese. So if it was more of a Vietnamese crowd, I would probably be the opener, because nobody cares about the opener. The show is starting. Everyone just get to their seat. They don't care who's on. I remember there was this lady, there was a dance floor, and she was towards the back of the dance floor, and she just looked at me like mad. And I was like, geez, I could see her, and I was like, she doesn't seem happy to be here. And then as I was singing and singing, she would come closer and closer to me, and then eventually she was right there at the bottom of the stage, and she told me to come here. She's like, come down, I need to tell you something. And I was like, okay, I'm singing right now. But then the song ended and I went down, and I was like, yes. And she basically said, you can't sing and you're not singing in Vietnamese, so why don't you go home?
Of course, her image and her music didn't 100% resonate with the older overseas Vietnamese audience. And hearing that story breaks my heart a little bit, because number one, she shouldn't have gone through that to begin with. She shouldn't have had to hear all that. But also number two, Asia isn't really a record label. If anything, it is more of a production company that houses a collective of artists. So anything that an artist does within that company is in service of the collective, in service of this live show that is for a very niche ethnic demographic. I personally was more interested in Paris by Night than Asia as a kid, partly because of like the production quality and the fact that Paris by Night of the three is still doing live shows. And it makes me a little sad because I wish I could have paid more attention to what Asia was doing than, getting sucked into like the bright, campy flashiness of Paris by Night. Asia, I wasn't really interested in because I saw it as more of like the older production. It was like lower quality. It wasn't something that I personally was attracted to at that time growing up. And I think Asia did their best with what they had with Trish. And I'm not here to say that like Asia,
failed at promoting Trish, or like they didn't do their job properly, or that they mistreated Trish. Like,
hearing her interviews and her reminiscing about her time in Asia, like I think they really did care about her, and they did treat her with the same kinship, like Vietnamese hospitality that I get from being around family members, relatives, or literally just any like family friend who happens to be Vietnamese. So I think, they took care of her and they really supported her and wanted her to succeed. They didn't let the haters determine how Trish's artistry was supposed to be. They let her have her freedom. They let her kind of just like live a normal life in a way as like a growing woman in her early 20s and, coming into her own as a woman, as an adult, but also as an artist.
Do you know how a Western audience received your music?
I think they received it well. That is why Asia wanted me to do more English songs, because I even had a meeting with my boss at the time that, you're connecting with the kids that grew up here, and don't really speak Vietnamese or listen to Vietnamese. So yeah, you could do that. You can continue to do that, but you have to do a little bit of the other stuff too, which I was fine with doing, but I never really thought I had that much of an impact. So I thought it was fun. So I just continued doing it.
But regardless, I think Trish and Asia did the best with what they were given. And while I personally wish that Trish had a bigger platform and had a bigger way of appealing to American audiences or Asian American audiences, I still think she did leave an impact on the younger Vietnamese American kids who are watching Asia with their parents. And, they might not be there for the nhạc vang or the skits that they don't really understand or the MC making dad jokes. Trish was there, and Trish was a pathway into seeing Vietnamese Americans outside of the overseas Vietnamese, war refugee narrative, and seeing her be this very youthful, beautiful, like very happy self. And I think with Vietnamese American narratives at that time being so heavily associated with war and the refugees and all this trauma, it was pretty refreshing to see Trish as this like young, youthful artist who wasn't afraid to express herself and like wore what was like in trend at the time in the US. Again, like I wish I listened to more of Trish's music when I was growing up. But hey, I'm still pretty young. I'm only 22 years old and I'm listening to her now and I appreciate her now. Even though it is from a more nostalgic lens, I think, putting all this together as a video essay has been very fun and reflective for me as a Vietnamese American. So that's my 2 cents on the whole thing. moving on to Trish's music and style, she describes her music as Vietnamese bubblegum pop, and the instrumentals and productions are very reminiscent of Viet New Wave, Italo disco, techno and dance music that was popular at the time. Especially on her first album, I don't think she had much of the skill set that was needed to, I guess, produce her own songs, even though I assume that she did write a lot of the English lyrics. The production was very, very Asia-esque, very Liên Khúc New Wave, that sort of thing. But it isn't until her later albums that came out during the early 2000s, like Siren and Trish, that she really started coming into her own. She has an airy and breathy voice that reminds me of Hilary Duff and Britney Spears. Again, early 2000s icons. But Trisha's songwriting combined with her soft, high, airy voice imbues the songs with an early 2000s like romantic R&B sensibility that is yearning and longing for an innocent type of love. Which makes sense because in one of her DVD documentaries, she describes herself as a hopeless romantic.
Every girl can relate to someone from Sex and the City. She believes in true love, which I do too.
Her style at the time is very Y2K, very McBling. I remember watching her performance with Jacqueline Thuy Trang, and both of their looks like freaking sucker punched me like into the early 2000s, even though I was only like a toddler at the time. Oh my freaking gosh. Jacqueline's look with the beret and the glittery tie and the low-rise pants, it was very Avril Lavigne. And then Trisha's look with like the rhinestones on her eyes and the blue eyeshadow and the pigtails, which were kind of an inspiration for today's look. The flowy skirt and like the white and the colors, like it reminds me of BB. If y'all even remember BB, that was like the go-to brand for millennial moms, especially if you're like Asian or Latina. But anyways, Trisha's makeup does use a lot of like bright pastel colors, signaling that bubblegum pop sort of style that her music was going for. And I love her thin eyebrows. I tried to replicate it without plucking my eyebrows, but like, man, I low-key kind of miss thin eyebrows. Those were a moment. That was a time. Other fashion moments that I really love are 1&1. I think this was like one of her first times on stage, which is crazy. The military outfits in Em Nhớ Tên Anh, the Chase collab with Cardin, like people have been describing that as like the Viet-American version of JT and Britney Spears, which I think is so funny. Seal It Forever, such a great song. Beautiful Sunday, Season in the Sun, such a cute like 60s, 70s inspired look. I love the yellow and I love her heels. Crossing Over was such a moment. I love the song, even though it is very much Kylie Minogue Can't Get You Out of My Head in terms of production. Like, I love the looks, I love the choreography. The song itself, like, even just by itself, like, I listen to a lot, unironically. But yeah, Trish in the early 2000s is my favorite Trish, if y'all wanted to know. After releasing her last album, Whispers, she got married to her fiancé Nguyen in October 2010. She gave birth to her first child, a son named Neo, in 2012, and she had her second child, a daughter named Melody, 2 years later. She posts them on Facebook like every other Viet mom. I love that. She also became an entrepreneur and founded a baby wear company called Skabib.
I made him a scarf bib, and my friends liked it. And so they said, why don't you sell this? And so I started selling it on Etsy online, and it started doing well. And I was like, oh, okay. So it just happened that I got into that because of my son. Because I hated bibs. You know, I was like, oh, I'm going to dress my son like a cool rock star again. But he drooled a lot. And it was always wet here. And I was like, you know. So I remember I had a picture of him in a really cute outfit, but all I saw was his bib, and I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna sew him a scarf bib. And that's how it all started.
While she is no longer releasing new music, she still performs her old songs here and there. She reunited with Cardin at the UVSA Festival last year. That unlocked some core memories for Viet Millennials. I'm just really happy that she is just living her normal, like, Viet American mom life. She's still really happy, and yeah, she posts on Facebook, like, pretty regularly, so it's not like she's, you know, fallen off the face of the earth. But yeah, that is it on Trish Thuy Trang. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the hair and the makeup and the outfit. This is, I guess, first of many video essays. I'm hesitant to call this a video essay because this is more of like a retrospective than like a proper essay. I've really wanted to make a video like this for quite a while, and honestly video essays in general for quite a while, but again, I just didn't have the time to do so until quite recently. I plan to upload this on or around Lunar New Year, so happy New Year, happy Year of the Snake. Chúc mừng năm mới. How do you say it in Chinese? 新年快乐. But yeah, subscribe if you want more videos like this, and you can follow me on Instagram at kalinaxkathy. Hopefully TikTok doesn't get banned by the time I upload this, but I'm also on there. Literally a few days ago, as I was editing this video, my friend texted me that TikTok stopped being banned, like it was back, as I was editing this video on a Sunday, and I was like, we're back? But we're so over. I'm also on Arena, if y'all even know what that is. I have a second channel called Kathy's Catalog, and I will see you guys next time if you're staying here, and I'm available everywhere else. So I don't know how to end a video. I don't know how to say goodbye. Oh gosh. But yeah, I hope you guys have had a great start to your new year thus far. I know I have. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye.